Welcome to a brand new episode of the Post Game. I'm your host, Davion, and I'm joined by Lillian
What's up?
and Emmett.
Yo,
How we doing today, y'all?
Pretty good.
Good.
yeah,
Good. It's been a while since you recorded
solid,
this. Huh?
solid.
Yeah, that's always a plus. Yeah, it's been a while since we recorded this series, but we're back, man. And before we kick things off, thank y'all for listening. If you ever have a comment about something that we say, or even if you just want to leave a comment, just please be sure to do that. I always like and subscribe as well. But today we're back in our Let's Talk NBA basketball series, and today we are talking about the Utah Jazz. So as we begin all of these, the first thing I want to ask y'all is what what's the highest accomplishment the Jazz can achieve this season?
Like in the West,
Yeah.
not the plan. So what's that? The 11 seed.
Yeah, I said they could sneak into a 10 seed, 9 seed, maybe. A lot of unknowns.
I definitely think they'll drop from 5. I think they are now on that full-on rebuild mode after trading away Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell for a lot of equity, a lot of draft picks, and and looking at their roster right now, they have a lot of glorified role players. Like players that can go to different teams and be a six man, and so, Emmett, you said they can sneak into the play-in. Why do you think that?
I say that because of just um, I mean, they lose 2 star players, but they get in just a boatload of like, raw, but some solid young talent. Uh, and they also still have some, proven guys on the roster still on the team. I don't know if I don't think they're done making moves right now, but like as it stands, I say that because kind of reminds me of the Anthony Davis trade
Mm-hmm.
to LA and kind of the package that New Orleans got. Like I wouldn't necessarily say that like at that point the Pelicans were rebuilding because it really only took them like a year and then they were like in the bubble playoffs. Because like the haul they got for Anthony Davis, they got a lot of talent to spread around the court. So like that's kind of my thought process here is that they got a lot of depth, and if they work well together, I think they could sneak in.
Yeah. Lillian, how do you feel about him?
Yeah, I think the Jazz are an interesting team, right? I think signing Colin Sexton was such a huge signing because that just gives you a building piece to build around when you do officially start that rebuild. I think I've seen reports that they're going to try and trade Conley and Bogdanovich and possibly Clarkson. But I think that you have Laurie Markkinen, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Walker Kessler, rookie out of Auburn. You got Jared Vanderbilt, who you got in the trade for Gobert. You've got, I mean, I'm not going to add THT into that because I think he's one of the most overrated players. I think Malik Beasley can be a solid piece. Started to become inconsistent in Minnesota, but I think a fresh start would be good for him.
So I was just gonna bring Mike Conley up. I think looking at because Mike Conley is one of those guys who gets you 13 to 15 points a season, and he's a very low key performer. It's nothing to really yell about because and I feel like Mike Conley in those big moments he just has not showed up in his career, and it's been that over and over again. And so I feel like them cutting loose with Mike Conley, that would be big. Um, Bogdanovich as well. I mean, I think you keep Bogdanovich around, maybe. But I definitely think you get rid of Mike Conley. I like Jordan Clarkson a lot. He was sixth man of the year a couple years ago. He's been a good 16 points off the bench for his entire career. So I think you have to keep him around. I know you got other guards. I know you got a lot of young guards there. THT don't know how long he'll be around for and how he'll produce. But you have Sexton, he just signed. I think it was 3 years, 60 million or something like that. And so I mean, he wouldn't be bad adding some depth into that lineup as well. But I definitely hear you when you say Mike Conley should probably be traded because to your point, Emmett, like, is this a thing where it's like they want to do a full rebuild like the Thunder did, like the Rockets did with James Harden, and like the Thunder did with Westbrook? Like, do they want to clear house, get a lot of draft picks, a lot of equity, to look to the towards the next 10 years? Or do they want to like do a mini rebuild like the Pelicans did with trading away AD?
Yeah. So, I think this is all dependent on like if they get rid of Clarkson or
Yeah.
Bogdanovich or Conley, like if they were to get rid of those guys for draft picks and maybe a couple players, who knows? Then yes, like then they're like like you said, clearing the house and going for a full reshape of the organization, similar like the Magic a couple years ago, like got rid of every single like player over like 28 or over,
Yeah.
and got draft picks and players. And I mean, they kept Terrence Ross, and it is smart to keep around like one or two veterans on the team. Like it's hard to I mean, I can't think of a team that has like just straight young guys. Like the Rockets have Eric Gordon, the Thunder have Derek Favors. Um, like I said, the Magic with Terrence Ross. So I mean, I'm sure that they wouldn't be opposed to keeping one of those guys, or like I think they still got Rudy Gay under contract, so he could
Yes,
be
yeah.
someone. Yeah, so he could be someone that you know dev- helps mentor the guys. But like I think it's all dependent on whether those three, Conley, Bogdanovich, and Clarkson, get moved. And I think Utah said that like they all value them as first round picks. So like I think I don't know. It's kind of a big asking price, but we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely think like it's funny, like when it comes to like when you see rebuilds like the NFL or the NBA. Like with the NBA, you get two or three, big names in, your rebuild is complete. But like in the NFL, obviously there's so many more people. Like it takes a lot to fully like revamp a team. But so is there? I mean, with this rebuild, that's what we're gonna call it. Do we think like some of these younger guys like Larry Marketing, like Sexton, like do we think these guys can really like, be a base for the rebuild?
I think that Sexton and marketing definitely could. Also, I think that Udoka Azubuike is just a really great replacement for Gobert. So I think that those three as a young core, I don't think that's a long term core. I think Sexton though is, as long as Utah and their coaching staff can figure out a way to get Sexton to be more willing to share the ball, like we saw with Ime Udoka and do with Marcus Smart. I think if we see that development in Sexton, that those three players are something they can legitimately build around and start a true rebuild.
I mean,
Yeah,
go ahead, Emmett.
uh, I agree with him. Uh, I mean, I think all of those people like have proven they can play very well in their respective roles. So I think it all just comes down to, and they got a new coach in Utah now. Like it all just comes down to gelling together, and like we know they can all play. Like they've proved it. It's just like on a new team that's hasn't got its direction yet. Like how's that going to shape out?
I completely agree. Like, so Sexton is interesting to me because like he's a point guard who like coming out of the league, like coming out of college, you thought he was going to be one of the higher ranked or a highly a top 10 point guard in the league, but he just has dropped every season he's been on is because of the ball, like the ball, being the inability to pass the ball. And so like I mean, I really do hope that he can develop that while he's in Utah, and like this team can really like revamp over the next 3 to 6 years, because like y'all said, they aren't done making trades and they aren't done figuring out what they want, what their vision is for this next term. And like I love Larry Marketing. Like I loved him when he was in Chicago. I loved him when he was obviously with Cleveland. And I would, I really expect him to be more productive this season because in Cleveland he was almost to that point where he could be more productive. But I think now, in Utah, he's literally like he's a top 5 option. Like he has to be more productive when it comes to like him and his stats. Like they need to be more consistent for him. And so Lillian, why do you think they'll miss the playoffs?
I think that overall there's just not enough talent on the roster. I think that they have 4 rookies, and one of those is on a 2-way contract, so he won't really play. But they do not have the overall talent that the Jazz previously did. Because losing Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, no matter what you think about them, those are 2 of the better players in the league, and they were easily the best players on this team. And Mike Conley continues to get older. Jordan Clarkson's numbers dropped significantly last season, and Bogdanovich continues to get older, though I think Bogdanovich is the best of those 3, and I don't think that Sexton is the leader of a playoff team right now.
I mean, you make very valid points, and I definitely think they'll drop from 5 to out of the playoffs too. I just don't. There just isn't a like they're starting to look like the Pistons did, like the Magic did, like the Rockets and the Oklahoma City did. Like they all start, and I really hope they go for a full rebuild because like it really. When you start off for a full rebuild, like you can get like a base and like you could really develop on what needs to happen because when it comes to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, they didn't have they had a plan, but Rudy Gobert was only good on defense, and that's whenever you didn't play like a team like Golden State to like shoot you out of the gym, and so like one of those it's just harder to do like a small rebuild whenever your team really needs to be started from scrap because I just think they need to scrap everything. Trade. I think you keep Clarkson, Bogdanovich. You can trade away. Conley, you trade away. Just because I think you'll get more equity out of those guys. I mean, if you don't like Clarkson, get him gone too. Then, but I just think there's a lot, that those young guys can learn from Clarkson. And like I think Conley as well. Like, you can definitely learn a lot from Conley, but you're paying him too much money to just be a teacher, to be honest. And so that's why I feel like you should trade Conley away. But I mean, wrapping this up, I mean, because we just think Utah, their season is already over, realistically. I think the West is too deep. And I think there's a lot of other teams that's gotten a lot better this offseason that are going to be better than this team. And so, any final thoughts on Utah?
Something I do want to add, just because long term this would affect the Utah rebuild, is I know there were reports earlier this year that Seattle and Las Vegas would be getting expansion teams. Just a few days, like last week, I think there was a more official report that because there are preseason games in Las Vegas and Seattle this year, that the NBA is looking to announce those expansion teams, and a Seattle expansion team would most likely go into that same division as the Jazz. And at that point, now you have 2 rebuilding teams in the same division. So it'd just be interesting to see how those 2 teams match up.
Definitely. I mean, these expansion teams, I'm excited to see what that looks like. I mean, I think we all know, like, KD's from, like he started in Seattle, like, and I think he's always said he wanted to go back if they had a team, they brought a team back. So, I mean, KD on an expansion team, that's a good foundation, I expect. Well, he'll be a little bit older by then, though. He'll be 35, 36. So, I don't know. I'd be interested to see for sure. But anything else on Utah?
I'm good.
Well, if you made it this far, we appreciate you for listening. Leave a comment on how you think we talked about Utah today. But Lillian, Emmett, appreciate y'all for joining me today as well. I've been your host, Davion, and this has been the Post Game. Peace.